Hi there, tech boys and girls. Welcome to what is part 2 of the CyberPowerPC deal that I got last month, showing and covering it. This video primarily is going to be covering how I got and ended up with this deal, and whether I made or lost any money on it. In part 1, I broke down the entire machine, took every single part out, and cleaned every single item. I've never seen dirt and grime and cat hair caked on to every freaking thing that was in there. So bad. Check that out in the description below. There will be a link. And for now, let's go. So looking back, I spent $1,500 for what looked like an awesome deal on Facebook Marketplace. I checked all the components, spent hours cleaning the damn thing, then marveled at its newfound beauty, then benchmarked. Now we're here. Did I end up making any money, or did I take a bath and just get totally ripped off here? So I'm going to be splitting this up into sections. First is the money I got back from the parts that I sold from the deal. The sound card sold for $64.38, the Aorus Z270, $193, the 7700K for $295.55, each kit of 32GB of the Corsair Vengeance 3200 MHz RAM for $160.19 each, the 850 Pro 500GB for $107.93, the EVGA 1600-watt T2 power supply for $130. Most of these were sold on eBay, and that's why there's cents after them, and just the EVGA 1600-watt went on Facebook Marketplace. All of these sold for a total of $1,019.17, so almost there, trying to hit that $1,500 mark. Next is the replace parts that I sold. The 860 EVO 500GB went for $60.02, and it was replaced by the 1TB Toshiba M.2. The Asus MX279H went for $100, and it was replaced by the Predator 27-inch with G-Sync. And my Asus Strix GTX 1080 went for $330 and was replaced by the 1080 Ti. So in total, the replaced parts sold for $490.02. Now combining the last two sections, we have the total of stuff that I sold for $1509.19. So I got my money back, and everything else from here is just going to be profit. The next section is the items that I ended up keeping, and so it's going to be projected values for what I found at the time and how much I could have expected to get. The Asus Strix GTX 1080 Ti for $650, the Predator 27-inch G-Sync for $375, the XSPC water cooling loop for $250, the 1TB Toshiba M.2 for $130, the Corsair 900D EATX tower for $150, and then there were 8 Corsair radiator fans. They're nice fans. I put those about $30 if I were to sell them. The total is going to be $2604.17. So another way to look at it is that since I got my money back, everything on top of that, I traded for what I replaced. So I replaced a 500 gig SSD, a 27-inch Asus monitor, and a GTX 1080 Strix with the 1080 Ti, a Predator G-Sync monitor, custom water loop, 1TB M.2, 900D, and a bunch of radiator fans. Okay, now that everything's settled up and sold and put into builds, I wanted to start at where I found the deal, how I got it. There was a one-picture post on Facebook Marketplace that didn't initially get me excited. So I messaged the guy about just the monitor. Eventually he sent me pictures, and I realized I needed to get there first. After that, I got on eBay to check how much I could reasonably get back for each piece. Often, especially with these, I'm going off just a few pictures, so I have to actually look up each of the parts, and sometimes the most important thing is finding the model number, because a small difference can mean $100 sometimes. Once I got to this dude's house and I got my hands on it, I could tell it was going to be a really, really big restoration job, but I wanted to test it. I never buy locally if I can't test it. No matter what, I'll skip it if they won't allow me to run anything on it. I ran Cinebench and User Benchmark, and it looked great. It looked just fine, even with just the terrible everything that was on there. So I got it, brought it home. Now, I bought it, cleaned it, benchmarked it. What to do now? The first step was finding out what I wanted to keep and where and how much I should be selling these parts for. Keep in mind that certain parts are hard to sell, and that should be factored in when buying any of this. Parts like cases, monitors, power supplies, they're too expensive really to ship on eBay while still making money off of it, and they are tough to sell locally most of the time. This power supply was an exception because it's dank to the max and it did sell quick. Between selling the replaced parts and the parts that I actually sold from the deal, I sold about half and half on Facebook Marketplace and eBay. I know a lot of people are scared about selling on eBay. I've been doing it a while, and yes, you can get screwed over, but you just do the best you can, and most of the time it does work out. Make sure to always use an eBay calculator to get a more exact idea of how much it will be after the fees and shipping, but you're always going to want to try and sell it locally first so you don't handle those fees and you can just get the money right then, no return policy, all good. Lucky for me, I was already in the market for a monitor with similar specs, so that was absolutely perfect. And I was wanting to get into the custom water loop game, so I thought this was a great way, and ended up being a great way to kind of teach myself how all the fittings work together and get hands-on experience with that. And I knew that that case being so large, the 900D is a super tower, that I was going to be able to do a pretty rad build just down the road. Overall, this whole experience was really just amazing. The cleaning of everything really did suck, but I knew I was working towards something, and it was kind of fun. It was just cold. Sometimes you just got to risk it for your own biscuit. You know, the two biggest things: stay patient, especially on Facebook Marketplace, wait for that deal to come around, and keep an eye out for the signs that this is something that you can trust, or, you know, that you can put faith in, knowing that that person is probably not BSing. And do your homework. When you show up, know what you want to find out, and know the components that you need to check to make sure that you're not going to get ripped off. And just like this, because I followed all those steps, I ended up getting a ridiculous deal that ended up being a ton of fun to play with and ended up making a ton of money. So this same thing, I have another deal that I just got 2 days ago. So I'm going to be working on that video, and it's going to be similar to this. It's almost as good. So I'm super excited about that. Thanks for checking out the video. More coming up. I'm still getting everything situated. I like how the quality is probably going to turn out in this one. I'm going to figure out a similar style. It's all just a lot of fun. So thanks for coming, and God bless your hearts. Love you.